This is how you can improve the tracking on the Meta Quest 3 drastically for your hands, controllers, and even your headset itself. And in this video, we will show you the 10 settings and secret features that you can unlock in the form of an easy to follow step-by-step tutorial. So make sure you stick around till the end and let's dive right into it. And starting it off on number 1, we have the tracking frequency, which you can find under your general settings. And this is also directly one of the main reasons that a lot of Quest users are experiencing bad tracking in the first place, because this is by default set to auto, which often isn't accurate at all. So instead, if you're using your headset in the US or in South and Central America, then you should set this to 60 Hz. And if you live in any other part of the world, for example Europe or Asia, then you want to make sure to select 50 Hz instead to get the best results possible. But moving on. We have number 2, which is the overall sensitivity, and this can be found under the hands and body tab. And to be able to unlock it, you want to make sure that you first enable the feature that lets you instantly switch between your controllers and hands, since otherwise this won't even show up. And turning this on basically means that you can instantly go from your controllers to hand tracking when you put them on a table, as well as of course going back to your controllers when you pick them up again, without having to press anything at all. But the most interesting part is the auto switch sensitivity in here that you want to crank up all the way to high, because this does not only make that transition much more sufficient and quick, but it also forces your headset to more accurately check your hands and controllers at all times. So that is pretty damn nice. But an even easier fix is number 3, and that is cleaning your cameras and sensors. Because when you put on your headset quite often, then by accident, you might be putting your fingers every now and then on one of the 3 glass modules on the front of your device. And while you won't notice anything about this while you're inside VR, these fingerprints and smudges can completely start messing up your tracking. So make sure to clean these regularly, but be careful when you're using something like a paper towel. And instead, try to use a microfiber cloth to make sure to prevent scratches on the lenses itself. And while you're at it, also keep your controllers clean, especially the top part, because this is where they hit their tracking sensors right underneath the black surface. But that gets us to number 4, which is regarding your boundary system. And this one might come as a surprise, but a lot of Quest owners use their standard stationary boundary that Meta turns on by default. However, by setting up your very own boundary system, your headset will be able to much more accurately track your body and your controllers within your own play area. Now, the same goes for setting up the height of your floor, of course, because once this is done, you can keep using it as long as you're in the same location. But while talking about your surroundings, we have number 5, and that is your play space setup itself. Because what people often forget is that things like mirrors or even big reflective surfaces around you can confuse and throw off your Quest sensors quite easily. So try your best to find a space to use your VR headset in that doesn't have these, or turn them around while you're in your VR session. And on number 6, we have software updates. Now, every month, Meta releases a new update that often brings in a couple new features or changes, including some big improvements every now and then to things like your controllers and hand tracking. And even so much that over the years, the overall experience has gone from a very low accurate representation of your movements to quite smooth actions that kept getting better, and that even introduced new things such as occlusion with your own hands, as well as fast movements and much more. So do make sure that your headset is always up to date. However, I still recommend to not turn on the automatic update feature though, and doing this manually every month instead. So in that way, you are the one that keeps the control over it, but also preventing the rollout of some disastrous situations that bricked a couple of Quest users' headsets like we had in the past. But before we get to the last 4 most important ways to improve the tracking of your Quest and that you really don't want to miss, let's first have a quick word from the company that made this video possible. Because none other than Cat VR, who are known for creating VR treadmills that look like they come straight out of Ready Player One, are once again taking virtual reality to the next level. Because while we are normally limited by the boundary system inside our VR experiences, it is Cat VR that has created these VR treadmills that let you run and jump without any limitation. And since their most recent version, which is known as the C2 Plus Enhanced, is compatible with every VR headset that you can think of, it is also often considered as the dream upgrade for any VR user. And they even go so far that it has things like haptic feedback built into it, as well as a vehicle hub, which will make it feel even more realistic when you're racing on a track or flying through the sky. And as a cherry on top, you can also use the code VRelity for a whopping $130 off on your entire purchase. So for those who are interested, I'll leave a link in the description below. And on number 7, we have the tracking override, which is a real hidden feature because this one is only available from the special developer tab in your settings. But don't worry, if you don't have developer mode unlocked yet on your headset, then you can simply do this in a couple of seconds. And if you're still struggling with getting that done, then I will also leave an easy tutorial down in the description below that will walk you through it in no time. But once you finally got developer mode enabled, then in this new tab, you can find the so-called hand tracking frequency override setting. And while this is normally set to default or none, putting this up to high will improve your hand tracking massively. However, this will drain your battery a bit quicker, so that might be something you want to keep in mind. But that gets us to number 8, which is controller drift fix. And yes, sadly, almost every Quest owner uses their controllers a lot, will eventually start experiencing something called stick drift. And to quickly explain this means that your thumbstick is pretty much giving an input to your controllers, even though you are not pressing on it at all. And this can lead to unwanted movement in games, or even complete unplayable situations. So to fix this, go to the Devices tab and click on Controller. And here, you will see the setting named Thumbstick Range and Dead Zone. So just choose the controller that has your problem and follow these steps on screen to actually diagnose it in the first place. And after you've spotted it, you can then increase your dead zone of the stick just outside of the area that is causing the issue. And in that way, your stick drift will be a thing of the past. But often, the real cause of this in the first place is that dirt particles can get under your stick over time. And if you blow hard on it, or if you use some pressured air right in the groove, then this can sometimes also solve the entire problem as well. So that is a bonus that is definitely worth a shot. But moving on, we have number 9, and that is some tracking fixes. Because at some point, maybe after an update or restarting your headset, then you might get a problem where you can see your controllers, but for some reason can't get your hands to show up at all. And this is most likely caused by your default settings in your hand and body tab. Because here, you might see that your hand and body tracking is turned off from the start, but just turning it on will let you be able to use hand tracking again in no time. And in the rare case that you still somehow don't see it, then taking a closer look will probably let you see this paint icon instead. And if that's the case, you will have to pinch your thumb and index finger together, and then they will finally show up. Or an alternative is just toggle on the show virtual hands on the top, so that you don't have to do this every single time. But that gets us to number 10, which are the enhancement features. Now, there are 2 really cool hand tracking features that you can unlock that will make your overall experience a lot easier and better. And the first simple one is your double controller tap for hand tracking. And yes, as the title says, when you now slowly bump your controllers against each other twice, it will let you instantly switch between tracking options, even without you having to put them down at all. But by far the most important feature in here that you can unlock is the expand quick actions. Because with this enabled, you can have access to an entire new menu. So to open it, you'll have to look at your hands and pinch your thumb and index finger together. And then you will see this window pop up that lets you do things such as starting a recording or muting your microphone and much more. And that without having to dig through your settings each and every time. But that is not all. Because now that you have all the tips and tricks and best tracking possible in your Quest headset, you will definitely also need to know about some of the biggest mistakes that a lot of Quest users make and how you can avoid them. So click on the video that you see on screen right now to make sure you don't miss out on that. And of course, stay awesome.